In order to understand each sign of the zodiac, the divine ingredients, it is necessity that we look at them from three inherent levels. And these inherent levels are the elements. In the Western astrology, we use 4 elements. I know the East uses 5, which is legitimate. The 5th element in ancient Western philosophy would be the ether element. In Chinese, it is wood, but comes up to the same thing. Nevertheless, we have like the elements. So each sign of the zodiac is defined by one of the 4 elements. The other level is the so-called quality. There are 3 forms of quality, which I get into in a second. And because we live in duality, we have the plus minus, or as some other astrologers say, the male-female principle. But I don't like the association or terminology of male-female, and the reason for that is that we have so many weird conditioning associations with male-female that I rather skip that. And because we're Westerners, I rather refer to the yang and yin. Yang, the masculine energy, if we want to refer that for a second. The yang energy is going out from the center. So everything that goes out from the center is yang. And the yin is the female or receptive going back into the center. Like from the moment of birth of our physical body, which we are not, by the way, we just dream we are the physical body, which is the big illusion, and I have a tendency to sidetrack often, sorry about that. So from the moment when we are born and we say the boy or the girl is alive, we are breathing. And when we're breathing, we're constantly doing yin yang, yin yang, yin yang. Energy goes out and energy goes in. The only clever question, if you want to really be philosophical, is where's the center? Like when you exhale, is it you really energy going out, or is the one self inhaling? But anyway, you can think about that. So we have the 3 levels, the elements, the quality, and the yin yang. Now, the 4 elements are really nicely done. In the zodiac, because we have 12 signs, we have 4 elements. If you do the math, each element is represented 3 times. Right? Very clever. So one element, and I don't want to do any priorities, but one element is the fire element. The old Kabbalistic symbol for that would be a triangle facing up, because fire has a tendency to always go up. So that's the symbol for that. And fire is an element that radiates heat, that warms everybody. And fire within itself has a feeling, thinks that it's something special, right? Which it is, but every element is special because we're going to miss out on any of that. So that's basically the fire elements. The other element, the opposite of fire, is the water element. That's the triangle going down, because water always runs down. Always, that's the direction. And water is cold, whereas fire is hot, right? And you cannot bring fire and water together. It seems to be impossible. But they are I call them the core elements, the 2 main elements. Some others say the other 2 elements, the air and the earth, are like mediator elements, but that's like, philosophical things. So the 3rd element would be the air element. Air within itself is constantly mutable. It's always moving. It's restless. As we live here on the planet, we rarely feel air, except we have a very, very strong wind. But if you ever jump out of an airplane, hopefully with a parachute, you will suddenly notice, after you've been speeding up to like 200 kilometers an hour, that air is a solid element, because you will be laying on the air for like 1 or 2 minutes before the parachute opens. And that's an amazing experience. So air within itself is an element, even though we don't see it. It's not, we don't sense it as much, but it is there all the time. If someone here in the room would light a candle, the whole air movement would completely change. So air is very flexible and mutable to any changes in regards of heat of fire. And the last element, and the most solid and the densest element, is of course earth. Earth is solid. Earth is heavy. Right? There are a lot of other associations with it. Like, we could say air is dry. So for instance, if someone has many planets in the chart, in the air signs or air houses, which are as important as the elements. Footnote, traditional astrology usually looks only on the signs. Like they would say, oh, you have many planets in air signs, so you are restless and all that. But it could happen that happens simultaneously in earth houses. So the person is not really restless because the houses are the worldly individual area, and therefore the person would be very solid, rather change resistant, rather heavy. So, always are aware of these three levels. But earth within itself is very solid and it's reliable. If I would lean against the wall, I can rely that the wall will hold me and give me a sense of security. But if I want to move the wall from here to there, it's going to be a lot of physical, earthy work. Even though my thoughts, which is air, every thought is air. The thought would be, oh, we're just going to move the wall and we're done, right? So these are the four elements. Traditionally, or I would recommend that when you set up your computer program for astrology charts, I would recommend that you set up the colors, that you do the fire element in red, the water element in blue, the air element in yellow, or in gray if you want to, and the earth element in green. Again, choosing those kind of colors will help your right brain hemisphere, when you do astrological interpretations, to be more led by the right brain symbolism, i.e. colors, forms, symbols, shapes, than linear words or numbers. Yeah, that's the whole trick. So these are the elements. And now we come to the qualities. The qualities are defined by a very simple thing. When we look at one season, let's say the spring starts with Aries, and a month later we have Taurus, and then the last sign would be Gemini. And then there comes another season with summer, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Now, a season has three layers. The one is the new beginning. Something starts. That's the new beginning, the building up. Then we have the sign in the center of a season, and that is the one that maintains. And at the end of the season, we do have the one that is preparing for the new. Therefore, it is inherent of the quality of change. Now we can say every sign that is at the beginning of a season, which is Aries in the summer, Aries in the spring, Cancer in the summer, Libra in the fall, and Capricorn the beginning of winter. Those four signs are what we call cardinal. Cardinal. Has nothing to do with Catholic Church. It is just the word cardinal, which means a new beginning. And as these are the signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, which are the first sign in God's ingredients box, the fourth sign, the seventh sign, and the 10th sign, the correlation on the house level, the worldly level, house number 1, house number 4, house number 7, and house number 10, are within itself, independent from the sign on the house cusp, or as the background, cardinal also. Cardinal is the beginning of something new. It brings something new. It wants something new. But if we look at something new, we have to or we will see that something new holds insecurity inside. Like imagine today when we were like coming here or like setting up, I mean, you know each other, but usually when you come to a new classroom or when I was boarding the airplane, you're kind of like sensing a certain sense of insecurity because you have no experience. Where is my seat, right? Or you move to a new house, as I always say, when you have moved, at night you have to go to the washroom or bathroom. It's quite a challenge to find the light switch, right? And not to hit yourself. So that is the cardinal energy. Now, the interesting thing is, within those three qualities, here, cardinal, which come always after 90 degrees, like 1/4 of the circle. After 90 degrees, so every fourth sign is always the same quality. Aries 1, Taurus 2, Gemini 3, Cancer 4, again a cardinal. So we call that also a cardinal cross because they are in right angle to each other. Okay? And the interesting thing is that within such a quality cross, we have the first one, cardinal, and the other two. Each of the four elements is represented. Each of the four elements is represented. We have Aries, which is fire. Then we have Cancer, which is water. Then we have Libra, which is air. And we have Capricorn, which is earth. All four are cardinal, meaning they carry the energy of starting something new with an inherent form of insecurity inside. But because of the elements, the way how they react or act out that insecurity is utterly different. Aries being fire, when it feels insecure, it gets the oomph, the kind of like oomph, the instincts, the let's do it. Cancer being water, feeling insecure, doing like blah 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 blah, like a little creak, like let's. Right? Libra being like air has to do with communication. It would look left and right and go into a tendency of comparison. What do the others do, or what do the others want me to do for me to somehow deal with that insecurity? And Capricorn, being winter sign and solid rock, would just be rock and sit and contemplate and sit. And then, after sitting and contemplating, it would make a step. Boom. And that step is solid, it's well reflected, it's written in the stone. Make sense? So you see there's a lot of like virtuality, before we get into like the archetypes. So the second quality in the middle of any season, after the cardinal, the new beginning, are called fix. Their energy is to maintain the things. So that what the cardinals have been building up is now for the fixed signs in the middle of a season to maintain, to hold on to. Which in the spring, in the first quarter, is Taurus. In the summer, it is Leo. In the fall, or autumn, it is Scorpio. And in the winter, it is Aquarius. So we have the fixed cross, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And again, all four elements are represented. Taurus being an earth sign. So we have a fixed energy that is ought or up to maintain, right? With a solid, heavy, dense earth quality. That's Taurus, right? It's just staying there. We have the same energy in the summer with a Leo, but now it is maintaining the fire. So basically, Aries would be like a match, like this, like lighting something, and Leo would be like the fireplace, that just holds the light and shines it light and it radiates its warmth to everyone. Then we have Scorpio, which is water, in the middle of the autumn. Now, water has a tendency to run down, down, down to get to the deepest point, right? And Scorpio, being a fixed quality, wants to hold on to that waterish kind of thing. So we have a density of water, and water very often can be translated with emotions. So where Cancer, the cardinal water sign, is starting to get some emotional new things done, but rather Scorpio is diving into the depth, as deep as possible, penetrating emotionally to the very core. It wants to arrive with the water emotionally to be finally somewhere where I can stand still and remain. But the problem is that when water, which nature is to flow, would stand still for too long, it starts to stink. That's why Scorpio has a lot to do with metamorphosis, but we'll get into that later. And then we have Aquarius in the winter. Yeah, again, in the center of the season. That's why it's a fixed quality. And the funny thing is, we have air. It's the air element. And we learned air is very, do you say reluctant? It's like very restless. It's everywhere. Yeah. So, and now we have the energy of fixed, like stand still air. But the air cannot stand still. And that's exactly what Aquarius is. Aquarius has a lot to do with rebelling or doing things differently or having inherent paradox in it. Because there is no air that stands still. So it's a paradox. So this is the fixed cross. And then each last sign of a season, which is the Gemini in spring, which is Virgo in the summer, which is Sagittarius in the winter, in the autumn, and Pisces in the winter. They are called mutable because their energy is kind of like dissolving and bringing change to that what was built up cardinal, which is maintained by the fixed ones and is now the mutable ones. So within themselves, they are in a certain way restless, right? But it is a necessity, that we need to change things to make room for the new. Like in the Hindu symbolism, we have Brahman, Vishnu, and Shiva. That's exactly cardinal, fixed, and mutable. If you read traditional astrology books, which basically are still rooted in the old in the organization that was so friendly to maintain astrology over the centuries in the Western Hemisphere, while officially judging it as something very bad, i.e. the Catholic Church and the monasteries, because only the monks were allowed to read and write. And they did secret astrology, right? Like if you travel Europe and you look at the whole architecture and symbolism, you see so much astrology symbolism everywhere. But officially it was said, no, it's not a good thing, right? But what, of course, the Catholic Church in those days, and probably today too, they were not very friendly in their attitude regarding mutable signs. Because the intention of that institution was to maintain the things as dictated forever by announcing themselves as the ground staff of God, which God had no idea about. Or did at least not agree, I think. But anyway. So you might sometimes, if you read astrology books, you might sometimes get to see that the mutable signs are labeled as negative. But that's not true. If you want to build a business, and you need people to build things up, it would be clever if you hire people that have a cardinal energy, because they're good in getting things done, starting new things, right? Overjumping the inherent insecurity. But when the business is built, you don't need them anymore because that's not their strength, right? They need to go on to the next project. Whereas then if you hire people with a fixed chart, lots of fixed energy, they will maintain your business. They are really good at maintaining business. But we know sometimes after maintaining something for too long, think of a restaurant, after 20 years you might need a new interior design or something, or at least a new menu. But no, we always did that. We do that like this, right? Then you need the mutable ones. Yeah? So there is no bad. It's always just like to put the things at the right place. So we have the elements, which are represented. And in the mutable, we have again the 4 elements in the mutable cross. We have the sign of Gemini at the end of spring, which is air. We have the sign of Virgo at the end of summer, which is earth. Which is interesting, because now we have again this heavy, dense earth. But now it is mutable, meaning you need to change worldly, earthy issues, right? If you have the thought, mutable, air, like Gemini, oh, let me rearrange my garden, right? Easy done, as I said before, with like moving the wall. But if you then have to actually do it, digging the earth and doing this and this, that's Virgo. So Virgo is really the work on this planet to change the earth or the world, hopefully for the better. Then in the fall or autumn, we have the Sagittarius archetype, which is fire. Sagittarius being fire. So we now have like all the fire signs. Aries starting, Leo maintaining in a regal, radiant way. I'm the center and I hold it all like the sun, which rules Leo. And we have Sagittarius, which is now like a bushfire. It like expands in all directions, like a forest on fire. And in the winter, we have Pisces, which is water and mutable. So it is ever-changing, and thus dissolving energy of individual emotions. That's why it has to do with transcendence, divinity, meditation, time and spacelessness, next to many other things. So these are basically the 2 levels, the elements and the qualities. And now we add the 3rd level to it, and the 3rd level is very simple, yin and yang. And that's, simple. When spring starts, we need a yang energy, otherwise the spring does not start. It needs to come out of that Pisces preparation of the nothingness that is conscious. So spring, Aries, therefore the 1st house is yang. When the baby is pushed out of the mother's womb, that's clearly a yang act. Not for the baby, but it is a yang act. And after exhalation, yang, has to come inhalation. So the next sign, Taurus, or the 2nd house, is yin. And after inhalation, energy goes back to the center, comes exhalation. So the next sign, Gemini, 3rd house, is yang. Inhalation, or yin. Cancer, 4th house, is yin. 5th house, being yang, exhalation, and 5th house, Leo. Then a yin, which is Virgo, the 6th house. Yang again, 7th house, and Libra. Yin, Scorpio. So we have water, fixed, and yin. Right? Then Sagittarius, fire, yang, and the 9th house, same thing. The 10th house, or Capricorn, being yin. So we have that one who has to start something new, but having this heavy, dense, solid, stern energy that is also yin. So it's getting even more condensed and is meant to make a step. So that takes a while. But when the step, it's very solid. Then Aquarius is yang. As I said before, Aquarius is air, right? Correlates with 11th house because it is the 11th sign. It is air. It's meant to stand still as fixed, but it shall go yang. So how should that be? That would either be an explosion, you have still standing air and like, or it's just the archetype of paradox. And the last sign and the last house, the 12th house, or Pisces, is yin again. So by those 3 kind of like essential segments in the ingredients of the zodiac, or the signs of the zodiac, every astrological keyword can be explained. And every, when you read like astrology books or you hear like keywords and test those keywords, if the element, The quality in the yin and yang applies. If not, what you read is wrong. There's lots of nonsense in books. So that's basically those four kind of things, or three things.
Free your mind.
Remember times without time.
Free